Good evening, and welcome to the May 2019 edition of League of Women Voters Presents, the monthly public affairs show about issues important to Columbia, Mid-Missouri, and beyond. Tonight is our last show of the season, and we're going to go out with a bang. We're going to talk about a big celebration that's on tap for Columbia later this year, and that's the 100th anniversary of Columbia-Boone County. And I have two terrific guests that I'm going to let introduce themselves, and then we'll get right to it. So,
okay, thank you. Thanks for having us. My name is Marilyn McLeod. I'm the current president of the League of Women Voters, Columbia. And not only is this the last show of the season, this will be our last show, as CAT TV will be ceasing operations in a few months. So we have been involved with CAT TV since about 2005, almost right after it began. So it's been a great relationship, and we thank you for serving as our moderator all this time.
well, and Jim Robertson before me, right? And I think it's been a great run. A lot of really fascinating shows, I think. So
it's been great.
Really good archives.
Right.
So
what we're talking about tonight is the 100th anniversary of women's right to vote and the League of Women Voters. So we're calling it the anniversaries, plural,
Okay.
the centennials. If you think about the history of women's right to vote, if you look at the timetable, in 1848, I believe, was the first time that women in America were saying maybe it would be good if women had the vote because they had virtually no rights. And it took until 1919 for women to get that right. And in June of 1919, U.S. Congress voted what is called the 19th Amendment, and it took a year for ratification, for it to become official. So from June of 1919, in July of 1919, Missouri was the 11th state to ratify the 19th Amendment, which is quite nice. We came in early. When you think about it, it was pretty nice.
yeah.
And then in December of that year, the League of Women Voters began. We believed then, those ladies believed that it was going to be real, that there finally was going to be final ratification, which of course occurred by the following summer.
It's kind of good thinking ahead to start that right away.
Right away.
Right?
Right.
So good for the
It's
ladies.
good for the ladies. So what we are doing is celebrating all this great things, celebrating women's right to vote, celebrating the League of Women Voters at 100 years. So
we have someone who's dressed for the occasion.
I am.
So Pam,
I'm
go
Pam
ahead.
Springsteel, and I'm chair of the committee for the 100th anniversaries. And I'm wearing the yellow sash, which the women wore at the time, that said Votes for Women, and they wore white. And so this was a typical what they wore to work on suffrage, to let people know what was going on. Especially this happened in 1916 when right before the Democratic Convention, they wanted to get on the platform, have the Democrats say that they supported the 19th Amendment. And so about 3,000 of them lined up on either side of the street. The men had to walk through. They didn't say a word. Just let the men know that they really wanted the right to vote.
And they were dressed
Just
similarly,
like this. Just
that.
this, and they carried yellow parasols as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
very nice.
Yeah.
it was called the Golden Lane.
The
This
Golden
is in St.
Lane.
Louis.
St. Louis, okay.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And that was to reinforce the message, and was it effective? It sort of.
Well, they did. Did they?
Did you get it on? They got it on the platform,
They
I
get it
think.
on. Okay, so that was effective. And the men in the legislature of Missouri kept saying the women don't really want the right. They don't want this, and so this is one of the ways that they worked on it.
So the men knew better,
Yeah.
but that didn't work for very long.
No.
Right?
It took a while.
Okay.
But I also want to say something that's coming up, Memorial Day. This is not necessarily a league event, but at the Columbia Cemetery, there's always a group of people that they have enact. And this year, one of our members, Mary Shaw, is going to enact the life of Helen
Guthrie Miller.
Miller.
And who's she?
And Helen Guthrie Miller came to Missouri with her husband, who was a pathologist. He came to work at the university. And she became involved in the suffrage. She helped to form the Missouri
Equal Suffrage Association.
the Missouri Equal Suffrage Association. And she also worked, she was really known nationally because she worked for the pure food and drug laws in the state of Missouri and also on the federal level under the Hoover administration. And so she's pretty famous for that.
So she came to Columbia when around?
I think it was about 1902.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So she was one of the leaders when Missouri became the 11th state to ratify.
Oh, yes.
She was-
Actually,
yeah.
and she was there when the governor signed the bill in April for called the Presidential Suffrage Bill. And so that was just giving the women the right to vote for president and vice president. That was kind of a separate thing that happened.
Is that so? It happened in different parts. It was like that was the first step, but
Yeah.
not for anybody in the state because the men know better, right? So they couldn't vote for.
Anything else.
Yeah,
And then
it was
what?
only for-
Subsequent then.
Right. Then nationally, that was just a Missouri thing.
Yeah.
And then what happened?
And then-
Missouri came, and later, years later, women got to vote for all the offices.
Right.
Is that how it worked?
The
Yeah.
next year.
Oh, the next year.
Right.
Okay, so it didn't take that long.
Yeah.
I thought they would.
Right.
We'll try this out for a couple
Yeah.
decades and see if we know what we're doing here.
Right.
So that's good.
And actually, we found out at the time that women had to be taught how to vote. It was really complicated.
Wow.
Or so they thought. Yeah,
So they thought. Well,
yeah.
what I was reading was that you have to know to mark your ballot and give it to the right judge.
Oh.
And so they have little booklets that explained all of this and how to learn about the issues and how to learn about the different, things that you're going to be voting on, the different things like who is the mayor, who is the head of the county, who are the people in the state that you're going to be voting for. They had to learn all of this.
So this is like the first initiative for the League of Women
That's
Voters?
exactly right. Still do the same.
Still,
Yeah, right.
We still have
Yeah.
to
We're still
tell
doing
people.
it.
you guys are in a rut, I hate to say it, but no, it's really important.
No,
I know.
people still need to be educated.
Well, I know.
Not just women.
That's true. That's true. And
Right.
you don't discriminate.
That's right.
Yeah.
No,
Whoever comes gets to get educated,
that's right.
right?
You
Yeah.
need an educated electorate.
Yeah. No, but that's actually, very important, and I'm sure it was even more important back then when folks were going for the very first time, and
Right.
what's this going to be like?
Right.
So, yeah, no, that's great.
Yeah.
So we have the Memorial Day at the cemetery, and Mary Shaw is going to
Enact.
whatever a speech or something.
Well, she's going to talk about the life
Okay.
of
Okay.
Helen.
All right. What there are other events that we should talk about
yes.
tonight? Okay.
Yes.
So okay. Well, then we better get going.
I think the next thing we should put out our plea for things that at the museum.
Right. We're going to have an exhibit at the Boone County History and Culture Center,
Okay.
which will begin in August, but we need to prepare materials before. So we do have some things.
And that's where is that?
That is down on, oh my goodness, Nifon.
Ponderosa.
Yeah, Ponderosa Avenue, down south of town.
Okay.
And they are providing a very large space. It's wonderful. It's a very generous offer. And this is a really interesting topic. So it's not just about the league, but just about the time and women voting. So we're looking for artifacts. Do people have things in their home that the great-grandmother had, maybe an original sash or poster or pin or something from the times that we could include in the exhibit. So if that's the case, definitely contact the League of Women Voters and Do you want to give your
Or-
phone number or
Or they can contact at the museum as well.
the Boone County History Center?
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe we'll put that on the bottom of the screen, like right about here,
Okay.
at some point when we get that
Yeah.
going.
Right. Right.
So either the museum or I'm sure they
My
can
phone
contact the
number
lead.
is, if you want my phone number,
We can put that on the screen.
Yeah, we'll put that on the screen.
Okay,
We'll put-
all right.
yeah. Or email, something like that.
that's fine too. I would-
Yeah, and so some of the artifacts are anything having to do with campaigns, and even maybe some of those booklets that taught people how to
Right,
vote.
Right. Those would be wonderful.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh, if we could find some of those. I
Yeah.
mean, things from that time period. Not so much from later elections or anything. This is really just targeted at the time period, say between 1910 to 1920.
Okay.
So,
So
if
leading up
anybody out
to,
there is, yeah.
and then
Mhm.
the-
Right.
when when it first happened, all the
Right.
firsts.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be great.
Yeah.
Do you have stuff now, or?
Well, there's a few things. We have some costumes. We have some
Oh.
costumes and some other things, but we're just kind of looking around to see what we can find. A lot of things are in museums. Can't get them
How
out
do
of
you
the
like that?
museum. You know,
Mhm.
they're there. They're not.
That's right.
But we're hoping. You know, sometimes people have things.
Yeah.
You know, they
right.
might have an original newspaper. Say, you know how people sometimes will save a newspaper from the moon landing. Maybe somebody saved the newspaper from
Right.
yeah
Now, when does the show start?
August.
August. So
Mm.
so people, you need to go up in the attic pretty soon because we need that stuff pretty fast,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
That's good. And then that'll run the rest of the year, or?
Yeah, it'll go for a year.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very nice.
Mhm.
Yeah. The next one is August the 26th of this year, and that'll be the 99th anniversary of the 19th Amendment. And so we are going to have an event at the Rock Quarry House. And we have Catherine Rempf, who is she's in the history department, and her field is the history of women's political life. And so she's going to speak on that for us. And so we'll have food, and we're going to have a sing-along.
What are you going to sing?
There are suffrage songs,
Oh, wow.
and one of them was like, no taxation without representation. They were saying, we're not represented, we shouldn't pay taxes.
Oh,
But there are some other ones from the time that they're being gathered up.
yeah. Well, that'll be fun.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
should be a lot of fun.
And so that's a one-night deal,
Mhm.
August 26th.
Right. Then the next thing is we are going to be in the holiday parade, which is November the 24th, a Sunday from 1 to 3. And we get to ride in a Model T.
Oh.
So-
How many people can fit in a Model T?
3. We found out.
Okay.
Unless you're in the trunk, you know.
Yeah,
Right,
right.
right. So it's got a bench, I understand.
Uh-huh.
And so he is looking for another one. It's Todd Crawford. And so he's looking for another car for us as well. But we know that we're going to have this one Model T. And it is called the Billy T. It even has a name.
Wow.
And we have seen pictures of it. It's going to be so much fun. So,
Good.
yeah.
Where is it? Is it in Columbia now, or is it coming from
He
somewhere?
lives outside in a rural area, but he emailed us a picture of the car.
Wow, that's good.
Yeah.
Now, are you gonna throw candy or?
No.
No?
We are supposed to wave our lace hankies.
Ah, very much. Very good. That's probably very authentic.
Yeah.
That's what they did back then.
That's
is
what they
wave
did
the
back
hankies.
then. Mhm.
Yep. That's good. So that's November 24th.
Right. It's the weekend before Thanksgiving.
All right.
Mhm.
Okay. So we have more.
Oh, yes.
Okay. All right.
The next thing, we have two to celebrate our particular centennial, because December the 11th falls on a Wednesday, so we wanted to have a party the Saturday before, so that's December the 7th, and that will be at the Broadway Christian Church. Mother singers are going to come and sing suffrage songs for that, And it's
And what is that exactly celebrating?
the 100th anniversary of the League of Women Voters of Columbia.
Okay, okay.
That's the exact thing.
So up until now, the things we've just been talking about have been a little bit more general?
State or national.
State or national,
Right.
okay.
Right. So we are going to ask the mayor to do a proclamation, and they've already planned for the county to do a proclamation for us, so we're inviting all of those people. We're inviting all the Friends of the League. It's going to be an afternoon reception from 2 to 4.
Great,
Yeah, so the public is also going to be invited as well.
great.
Yeah.
What do you guys know about the beginnings of the League of Women Voters here in Columbia? Are there any good stories to tell?
Good stories.
There was a turnover from the Suffrage Association became the League of Women Voters.
So there was a group that was trying to get the vote.
Right.
Right.
And then when they got the
Right.
vote, it was like, well,
Then it became,
we've done what we set out to do, now what?
right.
And then it became the League of Women Voters.
And
because
Mrs. Jessie Wrench, if you you're from the university, you
Wrench
know about
Auditorium.
You know about the Wrench Auditorium.
Ah.
Well, Mrs. was the head of that suffrage association, and she turned it over to, what is her name?
I don't know if it was Rosa Ingalls.
Yeah, Rosa Ingalls.
Yeah.
Rosa Ingalls was the first president of the League of Women Voters.
Oh, okay.
But they started back in, I'm trying to think if it was 1911, where Dr. Jessie, who was the president of the university.
Right.
Jesse
and,
Hall?
Yeah,
Yes.
and Luella Sinclair Moss, who was the president of what was Christian College, what is now Columbia College. They were leaders in this. They saw the future. So it's these were major figures in the community. You could see like this Helen Guthrie Miller was major already.
Mm-hmm.
She was well known already, and so they were kind of the movers and shakers of the time. And it was like, let's get going. It's time for women to have the vote. So they just worked at it. This Helen Guthrie Miller went around the state trying to get people to sign a petition to get on the ballot, that women should be able to vote.
Oh.
And there was something where she had to get like 26,000 signatures, and she only got 1,000. So think about traveling around the state.
Back then.
Back then. I said, did they go by horse? No, they must have but train. or
Yeah, they
car,
went by
but
train
the
a
roads
lot.
were not very good, so she went around the state and trying to get people to sign, and she couldn't get very many people to sign, so they began bringing in national speakers, took them around the state to get people interested, so they finally did get the signatures. And she spent days and days in Jefferson City trying to convince the legislators in Jefferson City that this was a good idea.
After she got the signatures?
Yeah.
Or,
Just
yeah.
to-
Yeah, they presented the
Yeah,
signatures.
Yeah. So these were people who were just remarkable, actually, if you think about the time. And, the ability to challenge the powers that be in every way. And physically to get around the state, it's just remarkable. I just have great respect for this.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
the determination is unbelievable.
Mhm.
I mean, in fact, if you think about what you said at the beginning, where we started at 1848,
Right.
and it didn't happen next
Yeah,
year or
right.
2 years
No,
later.
right.
It took quite a
Some
while.
histories start
Right.
with Abigail Adams, who said, "Remember the ladies,"
Yeah.
to President.
So that's even longer.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think I lived in upstate New York for a while, so we knew all about the story of and Seneca Falls and
Mhm.
Susan B. Anthony and
Right.
the rest. So,
Right.
but I just don't know that people fully appreciate how long it took
Mhm.
and what it took.
Mhm.
Like even
Right.
just what you were talking about with driving around the state
Mhm.
just to get some signatures. I mean,
Mhm.
that's sort of a drop in the bucket in terms of what else had to be done
Mhm.
to make this happen.
Mhm. Convincing people, and there were women who were opposed. They thought, "Why do I need to vote?" So, it was pretty tough, I think, to convince people, and it took powerhouse speakers to come. So they were very shrewd about how they did this. But the final vote, you know, we always say the final ratification vote, because the southern states weren't too compliant with ratifying the 19th Amendment. But Tennessee was the last state, and it's a famous story where the one legislator who was young, and his mother told him to vote for it, but there was a big challenge as to whether it was going to pass, and so his one vote is what passed the 19th Amendment.
Because his mother told him.
Because his mother told him.
Yeah, and after he voted, he climbed out of the window and ran away because he wasn't afraid they were going to treat him.
He had to decide who was worse to get chased by,
Right.
his colleagues or his mom.
Right.
I think he made the right decision.
Right.
We think so, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. We do have another party, Wednesday, December the 11th, which is the exact day when the League was founded, is going to be a happy hour event at Dogmaster Brewery for the young people. And the people at Dogmaster Brewery said that they will invent a signature cocktail for the event.
Oh, how nice.
Yeah, I thought that was
I
really
wonder what
nice.
that's going to be.
Yeah, I
You'll
don't
have to
know. Then we have another goal this year, and that's to name the new middle school for Luella Sinclair Moss. And she was really important. She was the first female president of what is now Columbia College. It was Women's Christian Academy at the time. Her husband died after he was the president. He died after 6 months, and so they made her the president. She went on to be the first woman on the Columbia School Board.
Oh.
And
So what are some dates for that? When did she become
that was
president?
I don't know about when she became president, but she was on the school board from 22 to 25.
Okay.
She also ran for Congress. She didn't win, but that was 1924.
Yeah. Which was remarkable, if you
Yeah.
think
Back
about
then.
that, for U.S. Congress.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she got on the ticket. She was on the ballot.
So
She was on the
She
ballot.
was, yeah, she was on the
people
ballot.
could vote
yeah.
for her, in other
Yeah.
words.
Yeah.
Which is remarkable.
Yeah.
Think
Yeah.
about it. Just
Right.
a couple years after women get the vote. So
Yeah.
that she had the moxie, if I can say
Right.
it that way.
Well,
yeah.
that you can.
To run for
yes.
Congress, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, quite remarkable. So these were pretty amazing folks.
It's interesting, you think about that with the moxie, what you just got the vote and now you want to run for office. Come on, but there's parallels to what's going on right now in the country in terms of some of the women that are getting elected. That some might say, wait your turn, you're too young. So it's kind of 100 years later, here we are. The same,
Right.
some of the
Right.
same things are happening,
Right.
and of course, voting is just as important as it ever was.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah, absolutely. And that's part of the reason, we still feel we're important. It's still an important organization. A lot of young people are like, why vote? And we just think, don't ever forget. People fought, people starved themselves, people went to jail to get this right. So don't take it for granted.
Yeah. So and speaking of today, what do you think is kind of the biggest issues for that, making people understand that right, making people appreciate voting? Because I think, we have seen some increases, but among some groups, especially young people, it's not something they're interested in, or maybe they are.
I think they're more aware now.
You do.
Well, you can see that the number of voters has increased. So I can tell by the young people that I talk to that some of them are really excited to vote for the first time, and they're beginning to realize that it really is important, and they've got to learn what the issues are so that they'll understand what they're voting for, and it's really important. So.
And is that something that you guys, in terms of educating the populace, you're comfortable with how you're doing it? Are you thinking about doing anything new?
It's a good question.
virtual reality, drones. Are you gonna buy
Reality
a
is another
drone?
one.
Yeah, right.
We have been educating some new people. The people from the mosque asked us to come and work with them this year,
Wow,
and so that was really interesting.
that's probably a new thing for you
It
guys.
is.
Oh, yeah.
It
yeah,
is.
Yeah.
So we were
Yeah.
pretty excited about that, to go to the mosque and teach them about voting and what the issues were on the ballot.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, it is kind of just very special when you think about 100 years ago, there was an effort to teach people how to vote, and now, 100 years later, here you are going to the mosque to teach people how to vote, to educate them on what it means when somebody says this about a policy or that or that kind of stuff. And so it's a terrific continuum.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway,
yeah.
so happy birthday.
Yeah.
It's really terrific. I think you guys are doing a terrific job of figuring out how to celebrate it, because there's a lot of stuff that happened around that time,
Right.
and you don't want to leave anybody out, right?
No, we are contacting a lot of different organizations, finding out that some of these women that we were talking about, they were also big in the Tuesday Club,
Which is
which is a women's club. That was pretty big then, and so it still exists today. So we want to involve the Tuesday Club. Then AAUW, Girl Scouts, all of these groups, and we have talked to the president of Stevens College, and she tells us that the young women there are really excited about celebrating next year. They want to have a parade.
wow, it's great. Yeah, we need more parades, right?
Right. They, at Stevens College, they have a collection of fashions, and so we were shown fashions of the time.
Oh,
And
that's
so,
great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're hoping they'll do a show there people can go to. So we're hoping it's community-wide, not just our events, but that it is something important that we
It
need to
is.
remember.
Absolutely, and we have a good slate on the drawing board right now, and maybe we'll have more with little
Maybe.
inspiration.
Right,
Maybe
yes.
this show will inspire you to do something, as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Right. Okay.
so anyway,
There are quite a few departments at the university that we are in the process of contacting as well.
so
Besides to get speakers, but, I don't want to say anything yet because it hasn't come to pass, but we have contacts to get contacts.
contacts. So, all right, well, that's great. So stay tuned. There may be even more parades, parties, and events like that.
Right.
So. So anyway, I appreciate you guys coming and talking about this. And since this is our last show, maybe ever or for a while, let's leave it at that. I think we should have some special thanks to the producer of the show, who's Carol Schreiber, who's in our audience right now. So thank you very much, Carol, for all you've done, all the great programming you've come up with, and arranging of the guests. And then behind the camera, and I can't even see him, he's behind the curtain, is Sean Brown, who makes us all look good and makes sure that I sort of kind of am on time and all that kind of good stuff, and in focus and that kind of stuff. So thank you very much, Sean. And thank you, Marilyn. Thank you, Pam.
And thank you.
I forgot to introduce myself, so I will do that now. I'm Randy Picht. I'm the Executive Director of the Donald W. Reynolds Journalism Institute, and thank you for joining us.